Thank you for joining us on Resource PNG. Great to have your company. If you've ever wondered what goes into operations of an oil rig or what happens at Kutubu, this is the program that just may help. We visited Oil Search's project at Kutubu to understand how they take out crude from the ground to produce fuels. The company's oil field stretches over a wide area from Hides through Angore, southeast Mananda, Moran through to Gobe. But their environmental footprint is rather small as compared to a mine pit. Oil Search is now moving into processing gas as well, which will go towards the LNG project. The team has had to make adjustments to attain the goal. To say lying can mean anything. It really depends on the context and the speaker. For the oil and gas industry, it refers to the pipes that carry the oil and gas. For Oil Search, that line starts at the wellheads in the highlands and run down to the Kumul terminal in the Gulf where it ends. This man-made line follows a natural line, the Kikowe River. This river is the third largest river after the Sipik and Fly rivers and goes by 3 different names. This waterway dumps about 3,274 cubic meters of water per second into the Gulf. The river starts at about 4,000 meters above sea level in Tari, Southern Highlands, and is known as the Tagari River. As it makes its way down through the oil fields, the locals there call it Hegigio. It goes under the sandstone formation near Kafa village. Then the river drops down Beaver waterfalls and out to the river plains of the Gulf, where it is known as the Kikowe River. The Oil Search company has been around for a long time, a very long time. They got into the oil game in PNG as early as 1929. They have numerous fields scattered around what is called the Papuan Belt. These wellheads at the top of the line start in Hides and trek southwest through Angore, Mananda, Agogo, Kutubu, right through to Gobi, which is on the border of the Gulf and Hela provinces. The Hides gas field is 80 kilometers northwest of Kutubu, where Oil Search has 100% ownership of the gas-to-electricity project. Merlin Petroleum Company and Petroleum Resources Kutubu are joint venture partners with Oil Search in Mananda and Southeast Mananda. Southeast Mananda is located within 3 Petroleum Development License areas, PDL 2, 5, and 6. There are a number of joint venture partners here as well. Oil Search is the operator in PDL 2 and the Moran area, while ExxonMobil operates PDL 5. Kutubu, named after the nearby lake, was discovered in 1986 and production started in 1992. Southeast Gobe was discovered in 1991. 2 years later, Gobe Main was added to the list. Oil Search is embarking on a next step in their history. They're venturing into gas. This is a major step, but their management has every belief that this team can do it.
This is a company that always does what it sets out to achieve. You look at the track record of Oil Search. From the initial buying buying the BP asset at Hides, they made a plan to buy the Chevron asset. They executed that. And they planned to monetize gas, and that was done. So Oil Search is an achieving company. When I first joined, we had the challenge of very low oil prices, and so we were struggling to cut costs in that low price environment. Just within a few months, we began seeing that the PNG LNG project really was going to take off. So the rest of the journey has been preparing the organization for PNG LNG. The work is not done yet. There's still a lot to go until we're ready for first gas. But the team is diligently working, and I know Oil Search will achieve.
How does Oil Search find crude and gas? They do that by exploration drilling and setting up wellheads. That's where the company put a lot of their money into for 2012. 2013 will be no different.
2012 was a year of solid progress by Oil Search in the delivery of its key growth strategies. I'm pleased to say that this is progressively being reflected in the value of the company and its share price, with consistent top quartile performance over the past 5 years, and with more to come. The company delivered a net profit after tax, including significant items, of $175.8 million, with an underlying core profit, excluding those items, of $153 million. This was based on production of 6.4 million barrels of oil equivalent, which was in line with guidance, though marginally down on 2011. Strong oil prices continued through the year, with total revenue from operations similar to 2011 at $724.6 million.
Drilling is what this company is good at. When we return, we'll have more. It is said that it never rains on an oil rig, but where Oil Search's project is in PNG, rain is surplus, yet somehow their drill teams have made it onto high mountaintops to establish wildcats. For any petroleum company, investing in exploration drilling is a must. Oil Search has been doing this for many years, and they have given an insight into what goes on at a rig site. The location we visited is called UDT-14 in Usano, along a certain formation termed by geologists as the Papua New Guinean Fold Belt. And what goes into drilling?
Hello, my name's Wally Jackimchuk. I'm the Senior Drilling Supervisor for Oil Search here at this particular location.
Rigs are worked all year round. As the drilling supervisor, Wally Jackimchuk's day starts early, very, very early.
My day would start around about 4:30, have breakfast, I'd be on location at 5 o'clock in the morning. You go through all the reports and activities from the previous night, address those, then we've got look-aheads that we've got to get out to all the management and the reports. Then we have our 5:30 meeting with the crews, discussing the day's operations.
Then emails and walkthroughs around the rig before the next crew change at 11:30 a.m.
We have another meeting, a pre-town meeting, again with the next crew that come on at noon, and that goes at 11:30 or starts at 11:30. And through the day, there's day-to-day operations that are going on and addressing different businesses.
The rig is a 24-hour operation. Workers and equipment are always moving, either being brought in or taken out. Sometimes the rigs are supported by a road network, or else they're totally reliant on helicopters. The main parts of a rig are power, hoisting, rotating, circulating, and well control. Each of these have very specific functions. Power is to provide electricity for the rig.
Well, behind me you can see the actual derrick itself, and then on the right you see all the power infrastructure that we have that provides power to that rig.
Hoisting is an elevating structure that will raise or lower the required tool for the job, whether it be pipes or bits. Rotating is a system that is used to drive the drill bit into the earth. Circulating refers to the system that runs a mixture of fluids into the well for maintenance and enables a lubrication of the drill bit as it is driven into the ground.
Behind the rig that you can't see at the moment are the mud pumps, the slush pumps. We have 5 of those that have pumped the fluid down the hole. At the moment we're actually drilling with air, The green units over there are the compressors and the boosters, and they're actually pumping a combination of water, air, foam down the hole because of the type of formation that we're drilling at the moment.
The mud is actually pumped from the mud pumps on the other side of the rig, up, all the way up through this system, up that red line, up the outside of the derrick, and then through the Kelly hose, what they call the Kelly hose, that's that flexible hose that hangs below the top drive system, and then down through the drill pipe, right down to the bottom of the hole. It cleans the bit, it cools the bit, cleans the bit, and aids in the rate of penetration as we drill the well. So all the cuttings come back, and all the returns come down this blue line here, and over the shale shakers, which vibrate and segregate the drilling mud, which drops down through into these tanks, and then the mud is reconditioned and recycled back through the system, so there's no wastage. The cuttings come off the shale shaker tables and they drop over the backside. The geologists and the mud loggers come along, they take the samples, they take them to the geologist, and they in turn monitor where they're going.
And well control, the mechanism that regulates well pressures.
What we're looking at now is the BOPs are just being, or the blowout preventers as they're called, are just being prepared to move into position once we've run the casing. Right now they're just preparing the BOPs for the next hole section, and they will slide that across, and they will put what they call nipple it up and tie it all together, and so that you have integrity right through the whole drill string, and then you're able to control any pressure that's in the wellbore by utilising any of these rams. Then there's controls that you can pump back down, you can pressure pump back down the wellbore and pump that pressure back down the hole and secure the well. These are the safety critical equipment on any drilling rig.
Each part of the derrick is monitored carefully to ensure the safety of all those involved, because the drill rig is very noisy, the machinery involved is very heavy, and what is coming out of the ground is volatile. And the people on the drill rig include a supervisor and other members of the drill team.
And every single person's key. No one's more important than anybody else. I mean, I've got my roles, but you know, even the roughneck, who would be a national, he's also important, part of our team.
The guys on the rig, they're very, very versatile, yes. Although they may be trained as a roughneck or a roustabout, there's a progression. You know, the guy will start, you know, a new hire would typically start down at this level, down on the ground level. So, and as part of his training, he would progress. He would progress from here, from a roustabout, what they call a roustabout, up to the rig floor to be a roughneck, then probably up to the derrick to become a derrick man, then down to become an assistant driller. He is actually the driller's assistant that runs the rest of the crews. Then he makes it up to driller, and then possibly up to tool pusher, rig superintendent. There's a hierarchy, and as they become more experienced and you know, they get that skill set, and they're evaluated regularly, and there's a good promotional system here within the drilling contracting community.
The best way to describe that, if you had an orchestra with a bunch of musicians, you need one conductor, eh? That best describes my position. Then if you cascade that down, then you'd have the tool pushers, who are the senior management for the drilling contractor, and they actually run the rig. And then you have the driller on the rig floor with a crew of 4 roughnecks. And if you look behind me, you'll see a man up the derrick. That's what they call the derrickman. And then there's an assistant driller. And then you've got all the other services that provide the technical support, mechanics, electricians, third parties, the loggers, the geologists. So it's one big team. Usually about 100 people involved with the operation. Depends how tough you are. Some people consider it tough, others have got a lot of experience and take it in their stride, eh?
A very tough group. When we return, we look at the process of drilling. To stay with us. There are many different types of drill rigs, and they are designed to work either on land or at sea. The one we're focusing on for now is on land, where Oil Search is looking for oil and gas. You've seen who does what on an oil rig and how tough it is. Now we would like to give you a feel of how a rig crew can drill down 3,000 meters with pipes or casings that are just about 30 meters tall. This is a very important part of Oil Search's operation because this is where they find oil and gas, the money makers. Each rig would normally be at a certain location for up to 60 days. Sometimes this may take longer depending on the makeup of the layer of earth that the team is drilling into. The drilling can go as deep as 3,000 meters. If you're wondering how these teams know where to drill, they do what is called a seismic survey, where they send out a pulse of vibration and then time its echo. The result from the data is a seismograph. From this information, they determine where a rig is set up. Drilling a well is tricky business, especially if you're going down hundreds of meters. That is why the walls of a well have to be reinforced to steady the casing or pipe. Drilling starts with a casing of the widest diameter. Then it is secured with concrete on the outside. Once that layer is completed, another casing of a smaller diameter is put through this and the process is repeated. The largest lot of pipes or casings is called conductor, then surface, followed by protective, intermediate, then the production casing, and finally the production line. This is the tubing that brings up the oil and gas.
What we're looking at now, this is the casing, this is the box section, and each one is screwed into each other as it's lowered into the hole. Now each one of them is, you'll see, is numbered. Now that is measured, to right to 3 decimal places effectively. They've got nozzles in here. We can pump the drilling fluid down through the bottom, circulate the fill back, and we can also rotate this with the top drive system or with the casing running tool, and we rotate this to the right. And these are polycrystalline diamond compacts. They're quite substantial, and this will help us to ream the casing shoe back into the bottom of the hole. Then we get back to bottom and we can cement this all in place. The white bands are painted on the pipe. They're painted on there by the inspector, which is a third-party inspector, just to ensure the integrity, to make sure that everything that goes in the hole meets specifications.
Each casing is attached the same way. In a process called tripping, these pipes are hauled into place one at a time. Once the pipes are aligned, the ends are brushed with a special lubricant to ensure they fit. They are then torqued. Then it's down the hole they go. This is a continuous process until they hit bottom, their target, the reservoir of hydrocarbons or crude oil. That's when they establish a wellhead by placing a Christmas tree on top of the pipe. A Christmas tree in this sense is a pressure valve that connects the reservoir to the flow lines. If you've just tuned in, we're looking at Oil Search's drilling project in Kutubu. On the other side of the break, we take a closer look at crude processing. Crude is a mixture of water, oil, and gas when it comes out of the ground. Oil Search has been exporting the Kutubu blend since 1992, so they have much experience in processing crude. This team has not only been able to engineer and design flow lines or pipelines to carry the crude to their processing facilities, they also run and maintain all these equipment. Petroleum or crude oil is a liquid made up of a large quantity of fossilized remains of ancient organisms like algae or zooplankton that were buried under sedimentation, which has undergone intense heat and pressure. To create petroleum, 3 things are needed: a source rock, a reservoir rock, and a trap. The source rock is where the organic remains are, the porous rock is where the petroleum accumulates, and the trap is the impermeable rock that seals in all the contents. The process would be similar to putting ingredients into a sealed pot over a slow burner to make soup. The longer you leave it, the mushier it becomes. In this case, the burner has been at it for millions of years, and the result of this cooking is a hydrocarbon reservoir. Why are these hydrocarbons so important? For starters, most vehicles run on fuel made from crude oil. Diesel, petrol, gas, and even plastics come from crude. For PNG, it was as early as 1911 that traces of oil were discovered in the Gulf of Papua. A decade later, exploration interests grew. Oil search came into the picture in 1929. The hunt for oil and gas increased by 1947. Around that time of PNG's history, the search for oil and gas cost an arm and a leg. To set up with government help would be about 270 million kina. As for natural gas, with the technology at that time, one reference says that the search yielded little apart from small fields of natural gas. How things have changed since then. In 1992, PNG entered the crude game exporting the Kutubu blend. This blend is a light, sweet 45-degree API oil. Light meaning it is not as dense and is able to give a higher yield of gasoline. Sweet implies that it has low levels of sulfur, which means less environmental problems. And the API gravity, or the American Petroleum Institute gravity, is a measurement of how heavy or light a type of petroleum liquid is compared to water. The industry favors light, sweet blends. Crude is liquid gold, which means that every milliliter is very valuable. The gas, which is highly flammable, needs to be trapped and regulated. So while it is highly profitable, it is very dangerous. This is where processing comes in.
My name's Mark Hansen. I look after all of the production sites and facilities across oil search operations, from Hides through to Kutubu, Gobi and the marine terminal. We've got around about 115 oil wells across the operation. My team manage those wells, producing optimum oil quantities and then providing the right quality of oil through our production and distribution system to export overseas.
Oil search uses a gathering system to collect all these hydrocarbons and then separates them into their components ready for export or consumption. The separation process happens in several places. The smaller plant in Hides looks after Hides 1 and Hides 2 wells. At these production facilities, the contents from the reservoir are gathered and separated based on their physical characteristics. When hydrocarbons are in a reservoir, it is under high pressure and high temperatures. When it is brought to the surface, some of the gases cool, forming liquids. These are what the industry refers to as condensate. It's like opening up a cooking pot. When the steam escapes, it condenses, forming water droplets because of the change in temperature and pressure outside the pot. This can happen to certain types of gases when it gets to ground level. What usually comes out of the wells is a combination of gas, crude oil, and water. The Hides Power Plant and Gas Facility, which is northwest of the Ridge Camp, is an example of what happens at a processing facility.
The facility is built for conditioning the gas, meaning that we put it through the separation system, we get the liquids off, which are the condensate, and we send the gas through our dew point control system. And when it's on spec, then we send it across to PJV for use in the power turbines.
The contents enter the processing facility through their inlets.
They come through this single line that comes through the facility.
From the inlets, they go through a slug catcher.
These vessels here, we deal with the slug. As it comes through the pipeline, it creates a lot of slug along the pipeline, so we come and smooth it out here.
Then to a separator.
Two products coming together, the liquid and the gas, they come in together. And we go through that inlet separator, and it does a two-phase separation over there, meaning that the liquids drop out and they go through the liquid conditioning units. Gas comes out the top, comes through the dew point conditioning unit here, and we run this system at 5 degrees C. And what it does is that we cool it as much as we can, and we drop out all the carried over liquids in the gas stream, and then we go through the heaters again and increase the temperature back up to ambient temperatures. And then it goes through the metering system and goes over to PJV. The whole process of this system is to allow that we don't send wet gas to PJV machines.
The liquid at this stage is referred to as condensate because it contains both naturally occurring liquid hydrocarbons and condensed natural gases.
After we stabilize the condensate that comes out from the inlet separators, we get it all conditioned, and then we put it into 58,000 liter tanks. They come get stored here, and the microstills pick it up from these tanks, and we do the distillation process. So the liquid stream, this is where it comes and ends.
At the Hydes processing facility, there is a mini refinery that is also called a microstill system. This small gas conditioning facility allows fuels like diesel and naphtha to be produced from the gas condensate.
If 4 of them are running at any one time, we'll be producing around 45,000 liters of naphtha and about 12,000 liters of diesel.
The fuel that is produced is used by the company and surrounding villages.
This is what we get out of the distillation columns. 72% of the product that comes out is naphtha, which PJV stores in the naphtha storage in a 2 million liter tank for the fuel usage. Our diesel here is what comes out and how it looks like when it comes out from the distillation column as well. And every distillation column that it comes through, 72% of whatever we put through the distillation columns, 72% of that product comes out as naphtha, and 22% as diesel, and 6% as a residue. Currently, we don't have any market for residue, so we just put it through the storage system and then incinerate it with the process incinerator.
And if you're wondering why the place is called Hydes, this area was named after a young patrol officer called Jack Gordon Hydes. Born in Port Moresby in 1906, Jack Hydes was apparently very athletic. In 1936, he and another man called Lewis James O'Malley were sent to explore the Great Papuan Plateau by the then Lieutenant General Hubert Murray. Unfortunately for Jack Hydes, the exhibition left him mentally scarred, and the following year, Hydes died of pneumonia in Sydney. We'll take a look at Oil Search's Central Processing Facility. That's next. The petroleum industry is said to be a very clean industry because most of the work is done by piping crude through a closed vessel of some sort and not handled the same way as the mining industry. The petroleum industry also has its own set of risks. They are constantly dealing with dangerous gases and volatile fuels. Earlier we looked at Hydes, the miniature version of what goes on at the main production facility at Kutubu, the Central Processing Facility, or CPF. Let's have a look at Kutubu's CPF. This is the control room of the Central Processing Facility in Kutubu. This is like the amplified version of the processing that happens at Hydes, but it focuses on liquid hydrocarbons and gas.
Looking after the Agogo fields, CPF fields, or the Central Production Facility, and the refinery. We also have a mini refinery that produces diesel for the project use. Yeah.
The control room may look small, but don't let that fool you. This place monitors and controls everything from the wellheads all the way down to the loading dock at the Kumul terminal. With a touch of a button, there can be a drastic impact.
No, this is the main one, Facility ESD. That button, when you switch it on, it shuts the whole place down. There's a little button there, but it's got a lot of action on it. So we don't normally touch it unless otherwise it's deemed necessary for us to touch that button. Where this guy just shuts the well in or opens up the well by use of that, the click of a button.
So what kind of numbers are we looking at?
The plant itself was designed for 120,000 barrels per day and 180 million standard cubic feet of gas per day, with 20,000 barrels of water production per day. At the moment, we're just averaging around 30,000 barrels per day now, and it has been just basically natural decline of the reservoir that where we're producing our fuels from.
Again, at this processing facility, much like Hyde's, the contents of the wellheads enter the system through inlets. Goes through the slug catcher to enable a consistent flow into the production facility.
Slug catcher is primarily to stabilize the flow into the plant.
From here, it is sent to the three-phase separator. The separator splits up the contents using gravity. Gas, being lighter, floats to the top of the vessel, crude oil in the middle, and water at the bottom.
Those are the vessels. There's nothing complicated. It's just based on retention time. It separates oil, gas, and water based on the properties, the densities. Now we're interested in oil, so oil gets into the stabilizers. Okay, this is the operating stabilizer we have right now. So cold crude goes into the stabilizer. We have a furnace that heats up the crude. When we heat up the crude, it vaporizes lightens in the crude, and that stabilizes the crude for export. So what we do, we store the crude in the storage tanks, and then we export the crude through the pipeline system. After the export, that line is capable to hold 300,000 barrels from Kutubu down to the terminal. So every time when we complete the export, there is 300,000 barrels sitting in the line. It's not empty. We also have the produced water system. So when we produce oil, it's not oil only. It comes with water and gas. So water, we process the water, treat it, filter it, and we inject the water into the reservoir again. It provides reservoir support and also safe disposal of produced water. We process gas as well. We separate the gas from the inlet separator. The gas goes into a dehydration system. The dehydration system is basically to dry the gas, gets the water out of the gas. We compress the gas through gas compressors, and we inject the gas downhole into the wellheads. So they're going back into the reservoir. So we have about 7 or 8 wells that we inject gas into the wellheads, and with the LNG coming up, that will be a future for oil sets.
Being a joint venture partner in the PNG LNG project, Oil Search will be adding their gas to the project. All this complicated process comes under a program that they call the Associated Gas Related Project, or AGRP.
Associated Gas and Related Projects, it's a element of the ExxonMobil-led PNG LNG project. Effectively, it's what we need to do to our oil producing facilities to allow them to produce gas to a reliable spec, to a reliable quantity, to go into the PNG LNG plant in Port Moresby. So we're here at Kutubu, where of course the largest share of the gas that we from Oil Search will contribute to PNG LNG will come from. So the project here involves getting our gas ready to send into the pipeline, but it also involves receiving the condensate from Hyde's, blending it with our crude and then re-exporting it. The project at Kumul, which is a life extension project, is all about getting Kumul over its design life and reliably serving for another 30 plus years.
When the Hyde's conditioning plant comes online, they'll be sending all the condensates down to the CPF, and we will be blending their product with our crude, and we'll be exporting it out. In terms of how we relate to Agogo production facility, all the liquids from there are pumped down to the CPF, which again processed at the production facility here, and then it's shipped out.
And there has been some additional items added to the central processing facility at Kutubu to make sure that Oil Search meets the demands of their customer.
A couple of upgrades that we've done in the production facility includes new tag unit of dehydration packages. We also have what we're calling the gas commissioning unit. That is a unit that will be used for the first gas into the export into the LNG gas plant.
Because the AGRP is completely within our footprint, our approvals are limited to an approval to modify our facilities. We are not getting new build construction licences or approvals to construct. So approval to modify and some ancillary approvals around pressure vessel registration and environmental compliance.
And there are a lot of people involved in this.
There are three main contractors involved in the project. Jacobs, who are an international EPCM contractor, are doing the engineering and the construction management. Monadelphous, who were our existing in-field mechanical contractor, are doing the mechanical and structural and instrument electrical construction. And Nationwide, who are a PNG company, are doing the civil construction. Today on site here at Kutubu, we've got about 300. Now, of course, we've also got another 100 home on R&R. Down at Gobi, we've got about 120, 130, and again, about 30% of them home, 30% on top of that, home on R&R. Overall, we've hired well in excess of 500 PNG citizens, probably around about 200 people from various other countries.
Stay tuned for more when we come back. Oops. The AGRP, or the Associated Gas and Related Project, has set the pace for the next phase for Oil Search. They're becoming an oil and gas company. That team has transformed their central processing facility into a machine that can churn out oil and gas to their customer's specification. And they're on track to add their gas to the LNG project when production starts. The LNG project is set to give its first gas by 2014. Is Oil Search ready for that challenge?
On a day-to-day basis, our challenge is to make sure that the plant is operating safely and the people are taken care of. So that's our challenge on a daily basis.
I guess, of course, probably the weather is probably one of those factors that, the challenges that we have. There's also the logistical part that, we being here right in the middle of the bushes, we have to truck a lot of our stuff from outside. In terms of the weather, maybe sometimes flights get disrupted and then we don't get our guys coming in because we do the normal 28-28 whereby someone works 28 days and then the back-to-back part comes in. So those are some of the challenges. The plant itself is aging, and one of the challenges that we have is whereby our boys have to be in the plant, making sure that they're being diligent when they're walking their rounds and doing their rounds in the plant. There was the need to do that paradigm shift from how we used to operate as an oil company. Moving forward, we now will be a gas company as well. So it's a totally different ball game in terms of an oil business company versus a gas company now, because there's the need to make sure that we're producing quality on-spec product and exporting it to ExxonMobil as our customers.
We've got lots of equipment out there, and it's constantly producing 24 hours a day. And of course, things break down and things go wrong, and it is a constant challenge to keep that equipment online and keep our oil producing.
The first key challenge was to deliver what's called commissioning gas. That's the gas that comes from our facilities to commission the pipeline down to Port Moresby and the plant in Port Moresby. So we are ready now to deliver that gas, and over the coming months the project will start to draw that gas from us. So that's done and delivered. In addition to that, we need to be ready to receive condensate from Hydes when they are ready to start to export it, and we're scheduled to achieve that well ahead of time, and similarly to then contribute our gas export in parallel with their first gas export ready for LNG cargo.
This is serious business. Everyone that works with this company knows that, and since they work with a volatile mixture of fuels, they have to be extra cautious. Gas leaks is one danger, which is why gadgets like these and other small handheld devices are always taken along when walking through processing premises. Safety is their priority, and they make sure that everyone knows what to do.
And safety's always been that first priority. So it comes back into that selection of people, that training, that constant supervision. So getting those right people with those right skills has been a huge challenge. Obviously, though, any project anywhere in the world has the same basic challenges. You've got to get the design right, you've got to get the materials up a supply chain which is of varying degrees of difficulty, you've got to get the people, you've got to get them camped and transport to and from site. You've got to have the support of the community. You've got to have that social license to do whatever it is you're doing wherever you are in the world.
Oil Search is set on being an oil and gas company, and they are making sure that their whole team is equipped with the skills and tools to enable that.
There's been a huge amount of hard work from hundreds and hundreds of people. And now we're at 80+% complete. So it's great to see that work coming together, that real result for that effort. We are going to send more than 500 people who were recruited in to do this project home safely with a lot of skills that they didn't have before they came to work for us. And that's a great feeling. It's a transformation for a company of our size to go from an oil-only operator to an oil and gas operator. And AGRP is that enabler to take us there.
From the old control room out in the plant, and now we are operating away from the plant. That's one of the changes that happened as part of the LNG upgrade in the facility. And we also have some additional infrastructure added in the facility to cater for the condensates from Hydes coming through CPF. So now we're going to a gas phase, and everyone is excited about the new opportunities that we have working with Oil Search. We are so familiar with the oil operations, but now with the gas operations coming in play, we need a little bit more focus or exposure to LNG operations. That's our challenge, and we are working towards achieving that. Our staff well prepared for the challenge. We have ongoing training, LNG training, related to the equipment we have in the facility, how best we can operate the equipment. However, we do have plans in place for future development.
All of the training that the company's provided for our boys or for the boys and girls that work in the plant has been in-house. We have a process technician apprentice program where the individual taken on board is actually he or she would undergo the whole 4-year program as part of the normal trades program. Yeah.
Our process technicians have largely been trained within Oil Search. Now, we run a comprehensive apprenticeship program at Oil Search, specifically designed for our process technicians to train them on how to operate both the oil wells and the production facilities that we have through the operation. That training program is based on an Australian framework. The NATTB has approved that framework. Our apprentices are selected through an advertising campaign across all of Papua New Guinea. Our preference is for Southern Highland technicians. However, the requirements for pre-qualifications are at least a grade 10 or preferably grade 12 certificate with a PET training background. So our apprenticeship program within Oil Search started in 2002. We've been very pleased to have 5 Apprentice of the Year successes through that program. So largely in 10 years we've had 5 Apprentice of the Years come from Oil Search, both in our maintenance program and also in our production apprenticeship program. Our graduates come from various fields, from accounting through to chemistry, mechanical engineering, electrical engineering and petroleum engineering. We have all of those fields that we really need to cover and develop our people here to, as I said, be future leaders in oil search.
You've been watching Resource PNG. Feel free to view this presentation on our Resource PNG page at www.mtv.com.pg and email us if you have any suggestions or queries. Until the next time, have a great week and pleasant viewing.